Okay, so this is the first gay rom-com from a studio. Loved the trailer for this one, but did I love the movie? Welcome back and welcome to another movie review. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel every week, and then movie reviews just like this one here at the weekend. In the description box you will find my blog and my Goodreads, where you can keep up with my reading in between bookish videos. I will leave a playlist of my spoiler-free movie reviews linked up above in case you are looking for something to watch this weekend. But yes, I went to see Bros. I had loved the trailer. I love a rom-com. I was excited that this was like the first gay rom-com coming from a major studio. And whilst me and the rest of the audience that saw this movie did laugh at quite a few points, something about it just kind of fell short of my expectations. It did feel like all the rom-com moments, whether they were romantic or comedy moments, were in the trailer. So it's one of those films where all the best bits you've already seen from the trailer. And then parts of this film just felt kind of like awkward and stilted and kind of like falling short. I found myself getting a little bit bored in parts, and I found myself wondering in parts, like, is something going to become of this? Is something going to happen as a consequence of this move on the part of one of the characters? Or is this going to be the part where it turns out that this character has been lying? Or is this going to be the part where it turns out that this character has a secret life or something like that? Because it felt like things would build, and then rather than them culminating in something, it would then just deflate and we go back to the beginning and sort of build again. As I say, there were definitely some very funny moments in this movie. However, not a lot of them came from the sort of main male lead played by Billy Eichner. I feel like a lot of the funny moments in this movie came from bits that had been written as kind of like setting the scene moments for Billy Eichner's character, or bits that came from the supporting cast and characters in this film. So Billy Eichner is a podcaster, and he's got this online presence. He's quite famous. People recognize him in restaurants in New York. And he's got this kind of group of friends as well as this group of colleagues, because his character Bobby is opening up the first LGBTQ plus museum. He wants to tell the history of the queer community, and so he's opening up this museum. And again, his cast of friend group and the cast of the people who support him in his business venture, his work crew, they do all feel like the studio has gone, okay, we need to tick all the boxes. We need to have, a trans person and a drag queen and polyamorous people and non-binary people and bisexual people. We have to tick every box, and, they have to be white and black and Asian, and just, we have to tick all the boxes. And so it felt a little contrived in that sense. I've watched a few other reviews of this movie because I was like, is this movie supposed to be like a bit of a parody as opposed to actually just a straight rom-com, or a non-straight rom-com, as the case may be? And they've sort of mentioned the fact that they don't buy into the fact that the character of Bobby would have this varied friendship group. They feel like Bobby's friendship group would be a lot of other people like Bobby, and so the movie did feel like it was box ticking. However, what they did by box ticking is the group of people that are supporting Bobby in this museum opening are a very funny group of people, and they say some very funny things and kind of provide this like bouncing off board for then Bobby to actually have some jokes of his own. But there's this one moment where there's this one guy in the museum curator group who is bisexual, and goes on about the fact that the B in LGBTQ plus is often ignored, and he wants to make sure that it's not ignored in this museum so that we actually have good representation in the museum, which I appreciate. And he talks about there being this equivalent to Disney's Hall of Presidents, so it's like Hall of Bisexual Presidents, and I absolutely loved that bit. I really sort of related to that bit, and I'm still thinking about that bit. It's just like a throwaway line, but I thought it was really funny and really well delivered. And then we have the romance. Now, one thing I will say is I like how sex positive this film is. I think that there is, it shows a bit of the kind of hookup culture, as well as that moment where you kind of go to bed with someone and you're not sure, are you dating? Are you going to become a couple out of this hookup? Is this just a hookup? Are you friends with benefits? Like that whole like nervous sexual thing going on. And I thought that was done very well. And then, we see guys taking poppers before they have sex, and then having sex in a very casual way, but as part of, more than one person being with another couple. And that was interesting, and again, very like sex positive. And so I appreciate how sex positive it is. But again, was that part of the movie definitely needed to move the storyline forwards? Not necessarily. Could there have been more come out of that for Bobby's character, or more come out of that for the guy that we're like, will they, won't they, with the whole way through Aaron? Yeah, there definitely could have been more made of those interactions. And then there are moments where Billy Eichner just does some really cringy stuff, or his character Bobby just does some really cringy stuff as well. And so you're like, come on, like you could be a little bit more, I don't know, like woke about it. And you're kind of like cringing on behalf of the other characters in the film, or on behalf of Aaron, because you're like, oh, I feel like this character is better than that. We also have Aaron's family, who he sort of portrays them to be these like small town people who would be very narrow-minded, which I then feel like he's not giving them enough credit for, and families like that are being kind of shortchanged in a sense. And his mom is a second grade teacher, and again, she is portrayed to be very narrow-minded, and I don't feel like she would be if she were a real life character. And so it just all felt a bit disjointed. There were many moments in the film that something more could have been made of them. There were many moments in the film that could have been more romantic, more comedic, or more sort of representative of the community that they're supposed to be representing. And then just circling back to Aaron's mom being a second grade teacher, we see her towards the very end of the film, and this is not a spoiler, but we see her with her students, and they are very much not second grade kids, and I'm not sure where that plot hole has come from, but as a teacher it bothered me, and so yeah, that wasn't great. But again, it could have done better. So did I enjoy the film? People have asked me when they knew I was going to go and see it. They asked me, did you enjoy the film? And I was like, I had fun, but I feel like it could have been better. And I think, it was definitely, there were some moments in the film that were fun, but I feel like you got a lot of the best bits in the trailer, and so many things were good but could have been better. So it was like an okay film, but should you pay your cinema going money to go and see it? I don't feel like you should. But then at the same time, I do want more mainstream studios making non-straight rom-coms. That's something I want to see. That's something I would pay my cinema going money to go and see it. So I do want to support the film, but I think the film should have done a better job so that I could support it more freely and more easily. So should you go pay your cinema going money to go and see this one? I don't think you should. Should you watch this one when it comes to streaming? Yes, I think you should. I think it would be interesting to see what other people's takes are on this film, and I think it would be interesting to see if this is the first film being released by a major studio. What comes next? Like, where do we go next? And what can we see next? What can we show next? I want more non-straight rom-coms, and I want this to be a stepping off point, and I hope that it is a stepping off point. And if we're just looking at it as a stepping off point, you know, it does a good job. It's set in and around New York, which I love. We've got some Christmas time moments in there, but I really hope that something comes along that does a similar job but does a better job. Also, they make fun of the Hallmark Channel cashing in on the queer community and coming out with these ridiculous titles for gay romances and everything else that it's been doing, and that part was very funny, and so it would be interesting to see where you follow up from that as well. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, do give it a thumbs up. If there are any particular movies you would like me to go and watch and report back on here next week for you, then do let me know in comments. I'm always happy to go and watch on demand. I will be back with another video for you very soon, so make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future movie reviews and future bookish content. And I will see you with my next video. Thanks for watching.